All right, welcome back to my messy bench. So I have been picking away at this giant beast of a tank for, I don't know, about 2 months it seems. Lots and lots of parts. Doesn't look like it right now because most of the parts are underneath here. But as I get down to the end, I have a couple of pieces left, and I wanted to use them to demonstrate some more rust techniques. So these would have scooped into the ground, dug in. So this, anytime I'm looking at rust or weathering, try to think of real life application. If this portion up here, it would have some chipping and various things from being moved with rocks and gravel and such, and being back behind the tank. However, in here, the majority of your paint is probably gone. It's been digging into the ground, tank's been firing, same with up here. So whenever you go to weather something, you want to think of what portions of it would be exposed to the sun, would be exposed to chipping, to scraping, all that kind of good stuff. So first things first, we're going to dig out some paints here. So I do vary it up a little bit. I've got some dark brown. That is a light rust. I also sometimes use, there's another rust color. I'll use regular browns. Doesn't necessarily have to be a rust colored paint. This is hull red, like a bottom of a ship. Works great for rusting. The other thing that you want is the primer color. So most of your tanks, it really varies where it was primered. I used a light gray on this specific tank for the chipping and the primer on the tank itself. So I want to match that color, which is mixed in a baby food jar. So, palette, sponges, and of course a couple of nice brushes. I buy these cups, Smart and Final or Amazon. They're a couple dollars for a whole tube of them, and they're amazing for thinner, for mixing paints, glue, whatever it is you want to use. I love them. All right, so first thing I want to do is do some various chipping. And to do that, toothpick and a fairly worn out brush. So on the bottom of these, which I don't know why I'm doing the bottom, you'll never see it, but that's just how I roll. Take some of this gray paint from here and just flick. It may not even show, these colors might be too close. So you can see you got a little bit of flicking on there. I might need to go with a lighter color. Which is an easy fix. Take my baby food jar, drop in some white, swirl it, and we have a nice ugly jar of light gray. Now for the top, we'll do the same thing. In here, flick, flick. Don't worry about being neat. And go in, add some extras with your brush. You just want random scratches, chips, pop marks, ugliness. It doesn't have to be neat. The more sporadic and the worse it is, the better it is. All right, so we're gonna do a little big chip right there just for fun. Like I said, this particular piece would have had a lot of wear. Now, once I've splattered some random stuff, I may go in and enhance a little bit of it. I also want to come in and do some on the edge, which is where the sponge comes into play. Packing foam. For me, they come in a lot of these miniatures that I buy. So I just tear a piece off so I don't ruin the whole thing. I take my paint, dribble a little bit in there, knock some of the edge off of it. Now I'll come in here and just go bonkers with it on this particular case because this one is going to be very rusted out. So we're going to go up the back side like this as well. Get some scraping going on in here. Same with this one. Just going to pull them back off the edge a little bit. Some of the sides up in here. You know, it's not supposed to be neat. It's not supposed to be clean. It's scratches. All right. So that one will sit over here. Then we'll come in. This one has a lot of chips just from that splatter I did. So we're going to cover some of them, obviously. But I'm going to come back. Add some more. Same with the bottom. I don't want to say you can't overdo this, but you can overdo it. This is quite literally just by yourself. Good idea if you want to do armor. Go to Hobby Lobby when they have the model kits at 40% off. And buy yourself the monogram Panzer or the Walker Bulldog from Tamiya. You can pick those up for, you know, $12, 12 to 15 bucks when they're on the clearance or when they're on sale. And because they are inexpensive, they are great kits to practice this with. You obviously don't want to practice on your $100 high-end kit. So we're going to let that dry and come back. All right, now this has had time to dry. So this is Hull Red. Hull Red is darker, but it looks brown, but it has a very red tint to it. I like to go dark to light. So coming back over what I've already done. We're going to come in and just sponge this stuff onto here. You want to leave some of that primer that you scraped, which really was too dark of a gray. Should have been much lighter, but it'll work for what we're doing. And hitting some of the edges where you've come in. Once again, you do really want to leave that base exposed. It gives it the nice chipping look. Like I said, unfortunately, I went too light. Went too dark with my base coat that's in there. But this is going to have dirt and muck and everything else all over it when I'm done, so you won't ever know. You're still going to get the same lesson. So coming into some of the spots down here, I'll have fun with it. Sometimes I'll do a bigger spot like that. Touching, scraping, poking, prodding, all the good stuff. A pretty little tree over here. All right. We come back, same thing on the other side. And from here, you're going to progressively get lighter, going through the other colors I have up here. And you're going to layer on top of it. And here we go. All right, so from here, now it's just a matter of taking the other colors that we have in here, progressing lighter and lighter and lighter. All right, now everything's had a chance to dry. You can kind of see what it looks like. Got a couple different layers in there. We're going to go in just a second with these MIG enamel track washes. The track wash, light rust, streaking effects. You can tell they're all nasty because I use them a lot. They're great. They're made to go over an acrylic paint. They blend into it very nicely. Gives it a very nice rust effect. You can blend it, you can streak it, you can make it look nasty. Some neat stuff. Works great. Night Shift, a wonderful builder on YouTube, showed these products, and I proceeded to order it online. Been very, very happy with them since. But first, so that was oily steel, just a little bit darker metal color. I'm going to come in here with my little same sponge, and I'm just going to go to the edges. So it's going to be a little stark at the moment. It'll mellow out once it gets going. So just the tip of where it would be worn down to bare metal, where the rust wouldn't be. And I'm going to hit it with the rust wash, so that will tone it down quite a bit. Let me just come in here, give some scrapes and scratches. Maybe come back to this bigger spot back here and add a little bit to it. You don't have to do this on every spot. It's really just pick and choose, throw a little here, throw a little there. Same with the other one here. This one's a little nastier, so we'll go just a little heavier. Get some scratches going. Get a nice big spot there. You can do this with a brush too if you can't find any kind of sponge that works. It just takes a little bit longer. And you can even come in at this point here and airbrush some faded spots and some panels if you're going for something that's not chipped away, for something that's just worn out. All right, so there we go, some bare metal. Not going to worry about letting that dry. It's such a thin coat, it'll be dry by the time I get to it. You can see why my channel is called My Messy Bench. I'm constantly working on 2 or 3 different projects at one time. And it stays a mess. It's kind of a regular thing. All right, one of my nastier brushes. This is the odorless enamel thinner. I believe it's just white spirits. I'm not 100% sure. Now I'm going to come in. I'm not going to use the track wash on this one. I'm going to use the streaking so you can see the colors lighter and darker. So we're going to come in. These are a little old and chunky, but that's okay. So am I. All right. Now we're going to come in. We're just going to dab and tap a few spots here and there, just like this. Same with here. This is not about being neat at all. All right, I'll set that off to the side right here. And do the same with the other one. Kind of along that edge. Up along here, some of the metal, some of the not. It's gonna get blended here in a second, so don't worry about how it looks right now. This stuff does spread out pretty good once it's thin, once you hit it with the thinner. Alright, get some gunk up in there. Alright, now I clean the brush, leave it fairly wet, and then I'll come back through here. Let's zoom in a little. Alright, Whoa, shaky cam. All right. And then you come through and just touch it. And you'll see it kind of disperses and blends in. And it really soaks up into the acrylic paint well. And you want it to kind of run and flow and do what it wants to do. Because when it dries, it'll look awesome. If anybody out there knows of good video editing software, please shoot me a message. Right now I'm doing all this with my phone, and it looks like I'm doing all this with my phone. Even the editing. All right, so you come through, and you can see where it's been, those little dots are that I dropped in here. You come in, you can swirl it around if you want. You just really want it to kind of disperse into the paint. There we go. So this will take a while to dry, but you can see a difference already. It changes once it dries completely. But while that is still wet and while that is still oozing its way into perfection, I come in here with the light rust. It's about time for a new bottle of this. The light rust is much starker contrast to the other one. So gonna use just a little bit. Just a few spots here and there, because it is much oranger in color and it does stand out much more. Just using a little tiny bit here and there. Hit some of these spots. Then we can go in with the thinner. It doesn't need much because it already has some in there. All right. Tap this guy, and then we're done with these two little pieces. Once they fully set, I will give this, because it is an enamel, and I'm going to put a flat clear over the top. I'll give this a good day to dry. All right. Like I said, doesn't need much. All right, these will set off to the side. And dry. We will come back after some dull coat has been put on them, or a flat clear has been put on, and I'll show you what they look like. All right, as you can see, they are in place on the tank. You know, this tank wasn't heavily weathered, but those two pieces would be in reality. Well, in reality, this tank didn't exactly exist, but that's okay. It exists for us. So there you go. Basic, fairly easy technique. It does take a little bit of finagling and some practice, and you're going to make some stuff that you don't like. You're going to make some stuff you love, but that's okay. And there you go. Rusting and scratching on the stabilizers for the E100. Thank you for watching my messy bench, and I will hopefully get some new stuff out to you soon. You guys have an awesome day.